Hello, today I'm going to show you 3 techniques for drawing people with tattoos. I'll start with the most simplified version. I'm using one color accent and black. If the person has tattoos in other colors, just ignore it for now and only use the color you picked out. This creates a really nice pop of color and it accents the tattoos really well. This is great for quick sketches, for figure drawings, or anything where you don't really have time to draw every detail of every tattoo. I set down a tone for the skin color first, so it's not just on a white background. I'm sticking with a very limited color palette. I'm going to ink the figure and her outfit first, so I have a better idea of how much contrast and line I want to add to the tattoos. For this drawing, I wanted to have a very simple figure and form and still have some interest with the tattoos and kind of just show off this girl's character and her personal style, though changing it just a little bit to simplify it. Think about how much detail you want to have in your drawing before you start. That's also going to designate how big you're drawing. These drawings are pretty small. They're smaller than an 8x10. They're probably like a 6x8 inch drawing. And this would be about the size of something that I would do in my sketchbook as just kind of a little practice sketch. So if you're going to be adding more detail, you're going to want to work on a bigger scale. So that's why I'm doing a smaller scale. I'm doing less details. I'm using a colored pencil to line the tattoos. This is going to be a little bit easier to get sharper lines rather than the ink brush. It also gives me a chance to lighten up the pencil a bit to create a gray tone. I don't know what her tattoos all are from the size of the picture, so a lot of them I'm guessing or just creating rough shapes and lines to represent more detail. For the portrait tattoo, you'll see I'm not fully drawing out a portrait, but just adding little lines to represent the features. This will keep the focus more on the actual face of the drawing. This is an image I just found on Pinterest, but I looked a little more into it to try to find the original source, and her Instagram name is Rosie Jones, and she just seems like she's a fashion person or influencer or whatever, but the picture I found on Pinterest was just the perfect thing to use for this example. I like that she has a lot of tattoos to draw and kind of figure out, you have to figure out a way to simplify that. So that is technique number 1. My next technique is using a single light color to represent darker tattoos. This is really great if you want more of the focus of the drawing to be on something other than the tattoos, so maybe her outfit or an expression or whatever. I really liked her wistful expression in this picture, the reference picture. I liked her outfit and I liked the lighting, so I wanted her tattoos to not be taking over the whole image and fighting for your attention of focus. So I'm inking my drawing first. I'm just using either a black marker or a black ink pen. I wanted to keep this also a limited color palette like my first one, so just doing black, that kind of beigey skin tone color, and then the light blue, which I'm going to be using for her tattoos. I did some of the finer details like her eyes and face in a colored pencil just because it's a little bit easier and more forgiving. You can get some smaller lines and a little bit more detail for those areas in the face. I also like the texture variance it creates. Most of her tattoos are pretty patchwork together. It's not like one big thing, it's many little things, so I didn't do a sketch beforehand. So I just started right away with this blue marker that I'm using for her tattoos, and I'm doing less detail in some places and more in others. So this one on her neck, I wanted to focus a little more and have it really look like the actual shape. And then for some of the other ones, a little bit looser. For her collarbone, I can't really tell exactly what it looks like, so I'm just making little shapes. And you don't really have to go into super fine detail and zoom in on a picture just to see what their tattoo says or a specific shape. You can really just suggest that detail and it will still read as that tattoo. She has some tattoos on this arm that are covered up with another tattoo, so I'm doing the ones underneath first and just kind of suggesting that value there, that it isn't just one thing. I'm adding a couple of details to the bodice she's wearing, but keeping the overall image pretty simple. I'm using a colored pencil to just add in some more details, like her necklace and a little bit more detail to her hair. I really love how this turned out. I really like the blue tattoos with her blue eyes. I wanted that to be kind of a way to pull it together, so I'm really happy with this, and I like the simplicity and the complexity playing together. My final technique is using more detail and full color. I wanted this drawing to have a lot of energy and positivity to it. I really love the contrast of her solid gray tank top and her bright, bold traditional tattoos, so I started with a loose plan of her tattoos before I start blocking in these colors, and I'm just leaving a couple of spots white to create some highlights. Think about what kind of vibe you want your drawing to have before you start. I know that's like, yeah, duh, but this one I knew I wanted to be really cheerful and like show like her confidence about her tattoos and herself, and I wanted to emote that through the different colors and the level of complexity that I wanted to add to the tattoos and where the focus of my drawing should be. For this, I wanted her expression and the tattoos to pretty much have an equal amount of focus, so it kind of creates a narrative, like the tattoos make her happy or bring her joy or bring her confidence. And of course it's up to interpretation. She could be happy for anything, and I don't know why she was in this picture, but I really liked it, so I thought it would be a good example for this. So I'm going in with the different colors of the tattoos, and for traditional tattoos there's really not like a ton of different colors in them. Like in that peony there's only 2 different greens, the blue and then the pink, so I really simplified it and figured out a way to express that using markers. So after I've finished filling in all the colors, I'm going ahead and inking my drawing. I'm just using my brush pen and going through the whole thing, kind of saving the inking of the actual tattoos for last, just so I don't smear them or mess them up. So I'm looking at my original reference picture too as I'm doing this, just to get an idea of where the line work is for her tattoos or what things look like a little bit clearer, but I definitely am simplifying a lot. Like I said earlier, this is a smaller drawing, so you don't have to add every single detail. You don't have to measure things out and sketch it out really and have like a solid plan. Just go for it. Like nobody's going to be like, oh, that actually should be spaced out a little bit different. You're using your own style and your own voice in this work, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, if you're doing a more realistic drawing, that kind of changes, but for this, it's definitely a stylized drawing, and you don't have to do everything. I'm adding in a couple of details with the colored pencil, just because I really like the texture. That is the final technique. So that wraps up my 3 techniques for drawing people with tattoos. This is really great for a mixed media approach. If you're doing painting or a different medium, these techniques might be a little bit different. I hope you learned something new today, or at least feel inspired to draw. You can always tag me in your work inspired by my videos on Instagram, and leave me a comment on which one of these techniques is your favorite. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day!